Hey bookworms! Hope you're doing well wherever you're at. Today I want to talk to you about perfectionism and the two things that I used and continue to use to move beyond it. So on the surface, perfectionism is a set of rules or standards that we need to meet before we put something out into the world, whether it's a creative project or something, whatever it is that we're working on. And ultimately, these rules and these guidelines are self-created and typically unattainable. And they're unattainable because the main purpose of perfectionism is to keep us stuck. It's to keep us from putting something out into the world because that means we're going to be vulnerable. And so perfectionism is at its root trying to really protect us and keep us in our little safe comfort zone, comfort bubble, which ultimately prevents you from any sort of expansion or growth. And the two things that I learned along the way to combat it or dismantle it was, one was to recognize when it's happening. So recognizing when I'm creating a list of things that I need to do for something to feel good enough to put out there, whether or not actually anybody's actually going to see it. And once recognizing that perfectionism is happening, it allows it to slip away. And Big Magic was actually a huge, Elizabeth Gilbert has just so many different gems at helping you dismantle perfectionism. At least that's what it was for me. So reading this book really allowed me to shed light onto perfectionism in my life in so many different areas, and that therefore allow it to slip away. Another thing that allowed me to move past perfectionism is allowing myself to become a beginner. So give yourself permission to be a beginner at something. And allowing yourself to be a beginner at something gives you space to make mistakes, not know everything or know all the answers or be good enough. It allows you to stumble and figure it out as you go. And allowing myself to become a beginner allowed me to actually create this book club and create these videos. If you go back to our first live video, it was like an hour long. And I hope that this one will be less than 5 minutes. And it just shows the progression. It shows the progression of me communicating with you virtually through media and doing something that I really, really love. But it wouldn't have started if I had this list of it has to look this way. Because if I did, like I said, it would keep me stuck because I could never attain that standard. Because that standard is something that I'm putting up for myself, because at the root, I'm protecting myself from putting myself out there. Because nobody really likes to be vulnerable. But at the same time, when we expand our comfort zone, when we do become vulnerable, is when expansion, growth, and all the goodness happens. So I hope that you notice perfectionism when it shows up in your life, and that you allow yourself to, or give yourself permission to be a beginner, so that you could continue to create and share your soul with the world, or with anybody that you so choose, or even just yourself. Happy creating.